and then you pay that off until it's gone, and then you roll all that money up to the next one. And what happens is we find people are paying off their debts in record time. And the analogy I use, it's like if you were to toast a piece of bread, would you rather use a flashlight or a blowtorch? It's not a trick question. It's a blowtorch, yeah. So, but most of us are trying to toast our debt with a flashlight. It's like, well, look, I sent $10 more this month than what I owe. It just doesn't do anything. But if we send $200 to one and the rest we pay the minimum payment on, we will blast away that first debt in no time and then roll it up to the second one. That software is probably the greatest thing I've ever found to do that. There are other ways. There's one more way to do it. There's a site called shredmymortgage.com. It's a mortgage acceleration software. It also uses a HELOC to help you do that, but that's kind of getting in the weeds. So how do you eliminate the clutter? Sell it on Craigslist, have a garage sale, or donate to Goodwill. Why would you donate to Goodwill? Number one, tax deduction. Number two, because if you don't want to take the time to mark it up and sell it, or put the ad on Craigslist and sell it, one of the things you're leveraging is feng shui. Right? Feng shui is this notion that when you clear the clutter, you actually open yourself for more abundance to come to you. And a lot of us, we hold on to our stuff thinking that has value, when in reality, releasing the stuff is what has value. So if you imagine coins falling from the sky, going like this, you're going to get way more coins than going like this. And this is what most people do. They hang on to all their stuff thinking it has value instead of just letting all of that abundance come their way this way. So you want to get rid of the stuff. Just clear the clutter. I've even heard to the extent that if you have a bookcase full of books, it's actually, from a feng shui perspective, you are limiting the amount of knowledge coming into your house because you have no open spaces on your bookshelf. Kind of interesting. And then you watch your savings grow. And at the beginning, it starts very small, right? But as I mentioned before, if you take 10% and let's even say you're making $3,000 a month take home, that's $150 every 2 weeks that's going into that save account. And at the end of a year, you have $3,600. At the end of 2 years, you have $7,200. At the end of 4, it's $14,400 plus interest, all that. This is significant, but it starts out very small. It's like a penny that doubles every day for a month. If I said, I'll give you either $1 million cash or a penny that doubles every day for a month, which one would you take?
A penny?
No? Why?
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Day 5, it's 16 cents. It's like, oh, whoop-de-doo, right? But day 28, it's 1.2 million, right? And so at the end of 31 days, it's about 10.2 million. So it's a lot more, but it starts out very small, and that's what we're talking about. We're not going to get rich quick necessarily, but when we start saving and we put our money to work for us, we'll begin to see the savings grow faster and faster and faster. Last thing you want to do, in my honest opinion, and this is one of the things that I prided myself on, I think Capital View's loan officers would do it for you, is to sit down with someone. If you pull out your credit score, have someone go through it with you. Have someone, if you're not really savvy about this stuff, have someone that's done this a lot, that's created spending plans, that's helped people save money. Have them sit down with you and go through and figure it out for you. I always liken it to reading the label on the outside of a jar. If you're stuck in the jar, it's hard to read the label on the outside. But my good friend and I sat down and did this with he and his wife because they had a massive amount of credit card debt. And he was constantly bemoaning this fact to me. And he said, you know what I need to do? I just need to make more money. And I said, with all due respect, that's not the problem. He said, what do you mean by that? And I said, you can't borrow your way out of a spending problem. You know, you can't make more money because your expenses will always rise to meet it. Every time you've made more money, you've spent more money. And he goes, well, I don't have anything I can cut. I go, well, let me start. Cable, chiropractor, newspaper, part of your cell phone package, the higher speed internet, and on and on and on and on, right? And he's like, well, whack. I mean, come on. Well. I said, dude, you're in the jar. And I'm reading the label on the outside of your jar and you don't like the ingredients. But that's what the ingredients are, right? So sometimes it helps to have someone from the outside look at it and say, how come you're spending this?
Did you do it?
He got rid of the chiropractor. I mean, this guy was spending $4,000 a year on his chiropractor. And not I mean, not making the kind of money that you would spend $4,000 a year on a chiropractor. But yeah, he started whittling things down. He refuses to give up cable. Refuses. I said, come on. But I haven't had cable for 15 years, so I don't really miss it. Because people who have it might miss it. But, so anyway.
There's some really cool websites where you can watch all the shows on cable.
Right?
Great.
Exactly. Netflix, $7 a month, I can watch about anything I want. But anyway, so I would suggest meeting with a credit union professional to help grow your wealth. Growing wealth that seems like a complex thing. In all reality, it's very simple. It happens in small chunks, right? Most of the time, people who grow great wealth, like the book The Millionaire Next Door, most millionaires in America, they drive used Ford Tauruses and F-150 pickups that are paid for. They never pay more than $100 for a watch, never pay more than $200 for a suit. You know, they're people that manage their pennies and know exactly what they're spending and what they're saving. So I think we just have to make an insistence on knowing, planning, tracking, and growing, and doing it in that order. So, questions, comments, concerns, compliments?
A lot of food for thought in that.
It is, right?
On average, like how long does it take somebody to get 50,000 in credit debt?
Thanks for being here.
How many years could they, I think a lot of people get caught up in, I'll be 70, 80 years old by the time this is paid off.
Yeah.
How do you?
It really depends on how they're paying it down. I mean, if it's actually a number of, there are a lot of parts of that equation. One is, what is the interest rate that debt is accruing? You know, if it's at 9.9, 14.9, 24.9%, that's almost an insurmountable amount of money, unless you really scale back on lifestyle and scale up on debt payments. The other part of that equation is how much disposable income is there to go to those debt payments, and then third is how are they doing it, the actual process. And so I don't know if you may have come in the middle of that. No, that's fine. But if it's, a lot of people will look at all their debt obligations, and I've known people to create the spreadsheet, and then they say, well, so if all of my debt payments equal $1,000, but I have $1,500 to send this month, I'm going to send $100 extra to each one, thinking that they've done something great. And in reality, what they want to do is they want to take all of that money that they're sending in extra and apply it to one debt. And they blast that debt away until it's gone. And then they roll up to the next one. And I can show students, because there's a lot of college students that I speak to have $80,000 in student loans. And they come out with maybe $5,000 or $6,000 in credit card debt to boot. They're making $40,000 a year, and they're going, how on earth am I ever going to make this happen? Well, when they go online to look at all their student loans, they actually have all of these student loans that are laid out, because the first semester they took one and then got an emergency one for $300 for that emergency spring break trip. And then the next semester they took out another one, and the next semester. So there's varying amounts at different interest rates and have different payment schedules, because one's 120 months and the other one's 180 months because they had more debt. And so and I've looked at these students who have a $320 student loan with a payment of $16 for the next 10 years. And they don't realize it. They're just sending in a payment. Well, what I tell them is, can you write a check for $320 right now? Yeah. Get rid of this debt. Just go write a check to them and just get rid of that. And then every dollar you had been sending before, just roll it up to the next one and send it to that one and get rid of that. And I can show students how to get rid of a massive amount of student loans in about 5 or 6 years. So to be quite candid, when I graduated from UNI, go Panthers. No? Okay. Just been and I had $28,000 in student loans, $8,000 in credit card debt. I was upside down in my car. My dog had just died at home. My girl left me at school. I mean, it was like a country western song when I graduated. But I met a woman my senior year who is now my wife, savviest woman I've ever met when it comes to money. And she said, I don't want to live with debt in our life. And so I had read about 100 books on the topic of personal finance, because she was working nights as a nurse and I didn't have anything else to do, so I'm just pouring through these books. And I decided we were gonna apply this leverage technique to get rid of debt. Well, we lived on one income for 2.5 years. We lived on her income, and all of my take-home income went to blast away our debt. So between 23 and about 25 and a half, I got rid of about $45,000 or $50,000 in debt. And some of that was, most of it was mine. There was a car loan in there of hers. And as soon as we were done, we were done. I mean, we have not had credit cards, car loans, student loans, any of that stuff since. And my mentality is, the reason that we have such a huge debt problem in America is people have lifestyled up. So what happens is we go out and we go, I really want a brand new sofa, and Homemakers will give it to me for 24 easy monthly installments. So now we just sort of tack a little bit on. And then with that TV, well, now that sofa, now my TV looks too small. So I got to get a TV. And Best Buy will sell you one on payment. And now we add to that payment. Now we add to that payment, that payment, that payment. I maintain that most people are broke because they have so many payments stacked one on top of the other, thinking, well, I can afford that. That's only $75. But in reality, that's $75, right? I mean, that could go a long way towards blasting away debt. What we need to do is we need to lifestyle downshift on lifestyle, and create a bigger life. And a bigger life involves having less expenses every month and way more surplus income that goes to investments and savings and having fun and doing what we all want to do instead of what we have to do.